Welcome to lesson 64 of course 2. In this lesson we're going to talk about adding positive and negative numbers without drawing a number line. There is no new vocabulary, so let's take a look at what we already know. From our past practices, we've used a number line to add two negative numbers together, and when we did that, when we took a -2 and we added a -3 to that, we know we got -5, because if I take away 2 from you, then I take away another 3, I've taken away 5 total. It's the same thing if we do it on the positive side. So we've also taken where we've added a positive number and a negative number, and the sum turns out to be, the answer turns out to be positive, negative, or 0, depending on which one of those numbers had the largest absolute value, or was in reality was the bigger number. So let's take a look at these. Let's see if we can do this. So see if you can solve these really quickly while we're doing this video. If I've got -54 plus a -78, what's my answer going to be to begin with? It's going to be a negative. It's going to be a negative, because if I take away 54 from you and then I take away another 78, I've taken 12. I've taken away 132 from you total. Let's take a look at B. If I give you 45 oranges, and then to add to that I take away 67, what do you end up with? I give you 45, but I take away 67. What is the end result? Well, to figure this one here out, you would take the absolute values of both, which is 67 and 45. Take 67 minus the 45, so we can get the difference. And then because this 67 is bigger than this 45, you know that your answer is -22, which makes sense that if I gave you 45 but then I took back 67, you'd have a net loss of 22. If we look at C, you should be able to do automatically. If I take away 92 oranges from you and then I turn around and I give you 92 oranges, if I take away 92, I subtract 92, and then I add 92 back, you're back to 0. Okay, let's take a look at it. Try some more. All right, so let's see if you can do this one here. Working from left to right, there's no multiplication or division. This is just adding. Do it with me, or do it on your own. Stop the video and do it on your own. That's the best way of doing it, is practice. So if I have taken away 3 from you, if I take away 3, and then to add to the problem, I take away another 2. To add to the problem, I take away another 2. How many have I taken away total? I've taken away 5. You're now missing 5 oranges. But then I say here's 7 oranges, and then after that I say nope, I'm going to take away 4 more. So if I've taken away 5, I give you 7, now you have 2, then I take away 4, you end up with a -2. Or you could combine these two together and go -9, and then plus 7 equals -2. Or you take the absolute values, 9 minus 7, and come up with 2, and then add the sign here, the negative sign back in there, and come up with -2. Sometimes you'll see this. Let's take a minute and explain this. Sometimes you'll see it like, you see -3 minus 2. I'm just taking out these plus signs. I'm just gonna pull all these out, okay? Just gonna pull these out and take them out of the problem. It doesn't change anything. -3 minus 2 plus 7 minus 4. Okay, nothing changes. Let's combine our like terms. Here's a -3 and a -2 and a -4. If we combine all of those, if I take away 3 and then I take away 2 more and then I take away 4 more, don't I end up at -9? I do. And then when I add that 7 to it, I end up at -2. So if these pluses confuse you, take them out. You don't need them. It doesn't matter, because -3 minus 2 is -5. -3 plus a -2 is -5. It's the exact same thing. We're saying the same thing. All right. Same principle, just different numbers. So first thing I want to know is what's my answer going to be here, negative or positive? Or you don't know. Well, hopefully you said it's going to be negative, because if both those numbers are negative, if I take this out completely, then you know on your number line, you're going to go negative 2.5 and then go negative another 3 1/3. Right? So then it's just a matter of doing the math. So we've got 2 1/2 and 3 1/3. We're going to have a common denominator of 6. We're going to keep that one's going to stay the same. This one here is going to be a 3. And then we do our minus signs. What's 3 minus 1? That's 2. So 2 6, and 2 6 equals 1/3. So, and negative 2 minus negative 3 is negative 5. So negative 5 1/3. Oh, except for this wasn't a 6, was it? This was a 3. Let me back up a step. So this becomes a 2. All right, so when we add those together, you get 5, 5 6. So when we add them together, let me back up. Let me start that one all over again. What a mess. Sorry. That was confusing. Let me clean it up. Okay, so let's take 2 1/2, and we're going to add it plus 3 1/3. We're going to leave the negative sign out here, okay? Just remember they're both negatives. All right, so let's add them together. Here's a 6, here's a 6. Now this becomes a 3, this becomes a 2. So we get 5 6, and we get 5 5 6. Now bring our negative sign back in there. We get a negative 5 5 6. So if I'm negative 1/2 in the whole, and then I go minus another negative 1/3, I have to add those two together, which is the same thing as if this was negative 2 and this was negative 3, it'd be negative 5, right? Now you throw the fractions in there, you still got to add them together. You got to add those fractions. I know the tendency is to subtract them and say 1/6, but don't do that because you're adding them, right? So negative 5 5 6 would be your answer for that one. Now let's look at our next one here. We're going to take absolute values. We're going to go our absolute values just to make it easier. And we take 7.24 minus 4.3. Fill in our 0. That's a 4. Makes it out. That's a 6. That makes that a 12. Makes that a 9. Makes that 2.94. But we have this negative right here because this is bigger. This is the bigger one out of the two. 7 is bigger than the 4. So it's going to be negative 294. I know that's a little bit confusing, and it will be for the first little bit. But once you've done a few of these, you just got to mentally think what's happening with the signs. So here's a real world application. One stock trade on a stock trade done by Mr. Figueroa. He lost $450. So we're going to say negative 450, right? We're going to do that right away. Then on a second trade, he gained 800. So what was his net? Net means what was he left with at the end of the day of the two trades. So if he made 800 of one and he lost 450 another, you're just going to subtract those two, and he's going to have a net gain of 350. Or you could do negative 450 plus 800. That you can't do. You got to get the 800 on top, do the 450, subtract the 2, and get the 350. All right? Okay, there's your written problems. We'll see you tomorrow in class. Practice these. Go back through the video and see if you can do them all on your own. And thank you for watching the video, and we'll see you tomorrow.